You know that mix of nerves and excitement when you get at the start of a big trek? That was me hiking through Iceland's Highlands. A couple miles in, and that feeling turned real fast. One of the guys in our group was suddenly on the ground, writhing in pain, and we were miles from help. Not exactly how you picture the start of a bucket list hike in Iceland. So today you're coming with me to see what it's really like to hike in Iceland's Highlands. You'll see the #1 mistake that gets hikers airlifted out and how to plan your trek so you're not the one strapped to a stretcher. Most people who come to hike in Iceland stick to the Laugavegur Trail, and for good reason. It's a 4-day, 34-mile trek through rainbow-colored mountains, geothermal vents, and some of the most iconic landscapes in Iceland. The route's well marked, the huts are spaced just right, and if the weather turns, you're never more than a day or two from an exit. But the route I was on, it was the long way around. 12 days, 90 miles, deep in the remote backcountry of the Highlands. No roads, no vehicle support. Just me, one guide, and 11 other hikers relying entirely on our own 2 feet to carry us from one remote backcountry hut to the next. There's no tapping out here. You're just a tiny dot in a massive, wild, unforgiving landscape. We'd barely started the hike. Day 1, just taking the scenic detour before linking up with the Laugavegur. The trail snaked through layers of those technicolor peaks, massive lava rock formations the size of houses, and nothing around us but wind and rock.
It's day 1 and it is unbelievable. The colors of the mountains behind me, all of the different minerals, it just goes on for days. It's stunning. Got a little bit more of a climb ahead, and then we'll have 360-degree views at the top.
Then up ahead, I see a hiker from our group, crumpled on the ground. I thought maybe he'd just taken a tumble, but when I got closer, his face was ghost white. Dislocated shoulder, multiple torn ligaments in his ankle, he was done. Our guy pulled out the satellite phone, our only lifeline out here, and made the call. The minutes dragged. Then off in the distance, we saw them. 5 figures sprinting across a field of lava rock, donning red jackets and carrying a stretcher, weaving between these boulders like they'd done this rescue 100 times. But reaching him was only half the battle. The spot where he fell, there was no way a helicopter could land there. So the rescuers strapped him to a stretcher and started down this steep, loose scree. Inch by inch, we're watching rocks tumbling under their boots, and it felt like every slip could go horribly wrong. And then after what felt like a lifetime, we heard it. The deep thump of rotor blades echoing off the valley walls, and a massive Coast Guard helicopter from Iceland's capital of Reykjavik burst through the clouds, circled once. The wind was roaring, grit stinging our faces as the rotors beat the air so hard it felt like the ground was shaking. We watched the team strap him in, our fellow hiker we only knew for a few hours. And then, just like that, they lifted off and vanished into the clouds. For a second, none of us moved. We just stared at the empty patch of rock where the helicopter had just been. Did that really just happen? It felt unreal, like we'd been dropped into someone else's survival story. Only this time it wasn't a headline you'd read later. It was our group, our trek, and we barely made it past mile 3. After a beat, the tension cracked. I made some nervous joke just to break the silence, and a few of us laughed. You know, that shaky, relief-filled kind of laugh. We regrouped, adjusted our packs, and started walking again, convincing ourselves, okay, this has to be the craziest thing we'll see on this trip. We all wanted to believe it, but the Highlands weren't done with us just yet. After the day we just had, that first night in the hut felt like a victory lap. There was this strange mix of exhaustion and adrenaline, the kind that makes total strangers become old friends by the end of the night.
Good morning, my friends. We are in a very, very secret place in the hidden Highlands. So secret, in fact, that there actually are not any trail markers on it whatsoever. There is a trail, but we are the only ones here, which is very welcome after being where we were the other day and having this beautiful space to ourselves.
Our group had been hyping this one up for days, saying we get to see this secret mountain she swore was one of her favorite parts of the whole trek, so we were getting pretty excited. The weather was holding, spirits were high, and just a few miles in, it felt like we'd finally shaken off the chaos of yesterday. We were so close. One last stretch before the big reveal when I heard it. This awful sliding sound behind me. I turned around and it was deja vu. One of the hikers, one of my new friends, was on the ground, face twisted in pain. His ankle was already ballooning, the kind of swelling you could even see through a boot. We were even further from the hut this time. But somehow, on pure adrenaline, this mid-60s legend managed to hobble all the way back to camp. By the time he rolled up his pant leg, his ankle was purple and the size of a basketball. His only option, take the bus back to Reykjavik and call the trip over. 2 days, 2 men down. And the next morning, we'd be dropped off by our own support vehicle for the real start. 9 straight days with nothing but our own 2 feet to carry us across the Highlands. That's when it hit me. This isn't the Laugavegur, and it's definitely not the ring road. Most people underestimate how serious the Highlands are. If you do anything, literally anything before hiking in Iceland's Highlands, get travel insurance. When that chopper lifted off, every other hiker, one by one, shared how relieved they were that they got travel insurance just in case. And then there was me, the only idiot without it. By this point, I've done several multi-day treks before without incident, and that got into my head. What's the worst that could happen, I thought, until I stood there doing the mental math, thinking about how many thousands of dollars it must cost to get airlifted out of a lava field. I did the math, by the way, and it's at least $13,000. If you do anything else to get ready for Iceland's Highlands, train for them. I don't mean taking your dog for a stroll around the block and calling it good. You need legs that can handle climbing stairs for what feels like forever, lungs that don't quit when you're hauling a heavy pack uphill. Because out here, it's not just hiking. It's screed that wants to eat your ankles, river crossings that will freeze your legs solid, and weather that loves to mess with you just when you're tired and getting hangry. And for the love of all things sane, do not do this trek solo. Go guided. Out here, a good guide is part wilderness wizard, part weather whisperer, and part human safety net. After watching 2 rescues in 2 days, I can tell you it's worth every penny to have someone who knows when to push forward and when to say, nope, we're not dying on this hill today. Could you go alone? Sure. You could also tightrope walk across a canyon without a net, but if you actually want to enjoy the adventure without starring in the next rescue story, go with a guide. If the Icelandic Highlands are calling your name, do it the smart way. Go with the same guided trip I did. It's 12 days, 90 miles, and honestly one of the greatest adventures I've ever had. Watch this next video on packing mistakes in the Icelandic Highlands, because if you pack wrong, this place will humble you hard. Click here to watch, and I'll see you over there.